It's in the book of 2 Kings. In my Bible, it's on page 576. We're reading from Kings 5, quite a few verses. Now Naaman was commander of the army of the king of Aram. He was a great man in the sight of his master and highly regarded, because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. He was a valiant soldier, but he had leprosy. Now bands from Aram had gone out and had taken captive a young girl from Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." And Naaman went to his master and told him what the girl from Israel had said. "By all means go," the king of Aram replied. "I will send a letter to the king of Israel." So Naaman left, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. And the letter that he took to the king of Israel read, "With this letter I am sending my servant Naaman to you, so that you may cure him of his leprosy." And as soon as the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his robes and said, "Am I God? Can I kill and bring back to life? Why does this fellow send someone to me to be cured of his leprosy? See how he's trying to pick a quarrel with me?" When Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his robes, he sent him this message, "Why have you torn your robes? Have the man come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and stopped at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, "Go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh shall be restored, and you'll be cleansed." But Naaman went away angry and said, "I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, wave his hand over the spot and cure me of my leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than any of the waters of Israel's? Couldn't I wash in them and be cleansed?" So he turned and went off in a rage. And Naaman's servants went to him and said, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he tells you, 'Wash and be cleansed'?" And so he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him. And his flesh was restored, and became clean like that of a young boy. How would you like to be a king or a queen for a day? Remember that TV program, Queen for a Day? A lot of people used to watch it. It would make you dream and hope. Guess what? Most of us will never be king or queen for a day, right? It's not going to happen. Not in the reality we're talking about this morning. The Old Testament was written before Jesus was born, of course. And they had a belief in God, as they did in the New Testament. But their belief in God didn't get carried too far because, as you read in Scripture, there was hatred. There was hatred between the Arameans and the Israelites. There was a lot of hatred going on. There still is over there. There still is here in the world. There's hatred in families. Hatred is a terrible, terrible thing because it destroys. We were coming home from Pennsylvania on Thursday, and there was a vehicle ahead of us, and it's always interesting to read the bumper stickers. And it said, "I love Jesus." Well, if you do, you don't have to advertise it. Show it. And Lewis said, "I'd like to follow them around for a week and see what they do with other people." Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Because that's what it's about. It's not what you stick on your bumper. Doesn't mean a thing. Doesn't mean a thing about the cross you wear around your neck. What is important is what you do with other people, how you treat them, how you address them, how hospitable you are to people you don't like. See, this is loving Jesus. It's not signs and symbols. It's working reality. And so let's play a game this morning. So we're all a king and a queen. And you know what? You get servants. How would you like to have that? Somebody wait on you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't have to do a thing. Wouldn't have to cook, wouldn't have to clean, wouldn't have to worry about how you're going to get to the next place. They'd take you there. They take care of every whim and wham you got. Not a problem at all. And then you begin to wonder if the affection, because if you're king or queen, everybody's supposed to adore you, right? And how does the queen, we do have a few queens in the world today. We got one in England. How do they address their subjects when they're out in a parade? How does the queen, does she No. How does she wave? That's it. That's all you get from her. But you wonder how many of your subjects really love you and how many like you because of what you might be able to do for them. Isn't that true? People in high office, we expect so much of them. And they're human beings. Remember that. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter. All people in high office are simply like you and me. They're human beings, and they don't have the power or the capacity to change the world. They don't. They can make some suggestions, they can make some changes, but they can't bring everything into a new beginning. We expect so much of people, and we get so disappointed and so critical because they don't come forth and do what we expect them to do. Do you always do what people expect you to do? Husbands, do you always do what your wife expects you to do, and vice versa? Do your kids always get what they expect from their parents? No. We're human. You can't do it. We're limited. And we need to understand that in life and stop all the complaining that we do about each other and say, you know what, I'm as guilty as the one I'm complaining about. That makes a difference in your attitude. Now we have Israel next to this other border of the Armenians, and Israel hates them, and Armenians hate the Israelites. And you know what the Armenians want to do? They want to expand their border. They want Israel's land. So that's what the problem is all about. Remember Robert Frost wrote a poem. Good fences make what? Good neighbors, see? There has to be borders, there has to be lines, and we have to respect where my line ends and your line begins. But so many countries don't do that. Neither do a lot of people with their neighbors. We're always worried about if somebody is encroaching upon our land, because it's mine, I own it. Don't you intrude unless I invite you. I had a friend of mine, and she owned property across the road from her house, and her neighbor was out one day 3 or 4 years ago looking the property over. So my friend goes over and says, what are you doing? Well, I'm checking out the line. You know where the line is, and I know where the line is. Get back over where you belong. Nice way to treat people, isn't it? You know, that's how we handled. That's how they handled it. Don't monkey around on my property. Get over where you belong. We're very strong about these things. But it creates friction, creates division. And then in Israel and also in Armen, the taxes got raised. And we always scream when our taxes go up, or when the price of gas goes up. Oh my God, what are we going to do? We keep right on driving. That's what we do. Most of us don't cut back at all. People say, oh, I can't. Yes, you can. We could all cut back on lots of things, but we choose not to. Right? Yeah, we're not going to sacrifice any more than we have to. But we want other people to sacrifice and take care of us. Because I'm king and you're the queen. So it's owed to us, right? Got to take care of me. And then both countries had a heat wave like we got this morning. And they had a drought. So they had no crops. What do you do when you got no crops? You got a hungry stomach. So you got a lot of things going on here. Rivalry, not having, going without. And it stirs us up inside and we get very, very angry. Like I would like the temperature to be 72 degrees every day, rain one day a week, and have a light breeze every day. I'm the king of the day. That's what I want. Wouldn't that be nice? But you know what? There'd be somebody who would complain. Yeah, I wish it would be 66 today, not 72. And we're complaining today about the humidity and the heat. It comes winter, oh, I wished it would warm up. You ever heard that? Oh my God, I wish it would warm up. I'm so sick of this cold. We're interesting people. And then there was another problem in Israel. There were people that were spiritual, and they're dangerous. They're trouble. His name was Elisha. He was one of the prophets. He believed that God could make things different. Stupid man, that a lot of people thought. How can anything be different when it's so bad? But Elisha said, God is still in charge. God is still in control. And I believe if you'll do some changes and repenting and going in a new direction, we can have some new happenings. Well, the king and the queens of that day didn't like prophets because they stood in their way. And then of all things, we had the story about Naaman that we read this morning. Naaman is a wonderful leader of an army for the Arameans. And would you believe that the king of the Arameans had the nerve to send a letter to the king of Israel and say, I know there's a man over there that can help him. And what did he do? He sent all these wonderful monies and clothing for the king. That's how you paid each other off back in those days. If this king over here wanted something from this king, you had to give him lots of gifts, or you couldn't get anything back. So he sent all these gifts. And guess what? The king of Israel was mad. Why? Because he couldn't do anything to help the leper. And he got angry and said, he ripped his clothes and said, what do you expect me to do? You think I'm God? I can't help him. He's beyond help. And how did this all happen? When Israel was in when Armene was in Israel, they captured one of the Israel girls, a little girl, and made her a servant to Naaman's wife. And instead of that little girl being bitter, because a lot of people would be so bitter to be taken away, she decided she could help Naaman. She saw his physical condition. She said, I could help that man. I know a man in Israel by the name of Elisha, that Elisha could help him. I just got to get him over there. She went to Naaman's wife and said, if you can get your husband over to Israel, there's a man over there that can help him. Isn't that a wonderful spirit to have? Here you are, taken away from your family. You should say, I'll never do anything to help anybody. And she said, I'll help Naaman get better. She's the one that suggested they go to Israel. So they go over, and Naaman is told, you've got to go and dip in the Jordan River 7. I'm not going to do it. How many times have we said that? I'm not going to do it. I don't care what it is, but we have that tendency, don't we? I'm not going to. Did you understand that? I'm not going to do it. Get it in your head. Don't bring it up again, because I'm not going to do it. And usually what we're being asked to do is some simple thing half the time, isn't it? It's a simple little request. Don't you see I'm busy? I'll do it when I get ready. It's like the couple that had their first child. And he promised her when they had the first child, he would help her change the diapers. So it went by a week, and he said the next time. It went by another week, he said the next time. She says, what do you mean the next time? The next child. You see how we get away with these things? We make these statements, we're going to do something, and then we don't want to do it, and we make up another reason, and then we'll say we'll do it some other time. A lot of time we never do it. We don't comply. We don't give in. And so Naaman is told, you got to dip in the Jordan. Now, I don't want to go to that river because it's not a decent river. It's not a river I want to be in. You've got other rivers in Damascus that I'd rather be into, and I'll go to those rivers. And Elisha said, it isn't going to happen in the other rivers. It's going to happen the way I told you to do it. And if you don't do it the way I told you to do it, you're not going to get the gift. Now, here's the leader of an army. He doesn't want to be told what to do by a little old man of God. Like a guy that ran a bar, and he had a contest. He'd give you $1,000. He would squeeze a lemon when you came into the bar. And if you could squeeze one drop out of it after he got through with it, you got $1,000. So he would squeeze a lemon, and man after man, strong men would come in and squeeze it and squeeze it and squeeze it. Couldn't get anything out of it after he did it. One day a man came in his 40s, in a suit, scrawny, glasses, looked like a nerd. Came in and saw the sign and says, I'll take you on. The guy says, all right. So the bartender squeezes it, and there's nothing left. He hands it to him, and the guy squeezes it, and he got out 6 drops of juice. The bartender said, "You must be a former lumberjack or something. What do you do?" He says, "I work for the IRS." You know why we like to be king and queen even though we don't have the title? Because we can control. That's why we like to have a subtitle. I'm the queen, I'm the king. Because I want to be in charge. I want to be in control. And you know why we like to be in control? Because everything's just the way we want it. Right? That's why you want to be in control. That's why I want to be in control. Everything's just the way I want it. It's on my schedule, my time, my slot. And we love reigning over our kingdoms. And we've all got a kingdom. Everyone here this morning has got a kingdom. It's either the bank, or it's your antiques, or it's your vehicle, or it's your toys. But we've all got a kingdom. Every one of us. And we reign over it. Have you ever got to the point where it was too much to run your kingdom? And we say sometimes, "I'm going to sell all this stuff." Oh, like fun, you're going to sell all that stuff. "I'm going to get rid of all this stuff." No, we're not. No, we're not. Because it means if we do that, we give up control. You understand what I'm saying this morning? We're very controlling people. I am. And we don't want to take the extra steps. See, Naaman didn't want to take the extra steps. They said, "You got to go to the Jordan." I don't want to go to take those steps. I want to go and take my steps. And so the king says, "You better go down to Elisha's house." And Elisha was supposed to come out because he was the head of the army. And I always remember when people do that. Carolyn Fairchild and got married to Clarence. And Clarence came in from the back. And I always remember these are nice things. And Clarence came in from the back like this. Then he came over here. I thought that was a beautiful way of coming in, you know, in that attitude, that humble attitude, come in, bow. But Naaman expected Elisha to bow to him. "I am an important man. Don't you understand? I'm head of the whole army of the neighboring country. And you didn't even come out and put the blessing of God upon me. What's the matter with you?" Here he was in great need and murmuring and complaining. As you all know, Carl Holdridge died on July 4th. I've been with lots and lots of people through their journey of terminal illness. And this is nothing against people, but most people who are terminal that I've worked with cannot talk about death. Very little. Very, very little. It's not discussed. So I went down a month ago, and Carl's a man I would never thought would have talked about death. I walked in about a month ago, and I said, "How you doing?" He said, I'm on my way out." I said, "Out where?" "I'm going to die." "You are?" "Yeah." He wasn't complaining. He said, "That's what's going to happen." And then a couple of weeks ago, I was down, and he said, "You know, I never knew it took so long to die." And I went in on the way back from Pennsylvania Thursday, the day he died. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He looked very glazed over, and I thought, well, we won't have much conversation. He didn't say anything when I came in, so I said, "Do you know who I am?" "Well, yes, I know who you are." Lewis was with me. So I sat down. He said, "Have Lewis bring the other chair over on the other side." I said, "I saw Betty." That's his wife. "I saw Betty yesterday." "You did?" "Yeah." She was smiling and happy, and then it was about 5 minutes, no response. I thought, well, he didn't hear me. She always was like that. And then Mike told me he was there when he went at 10 o'clock at night. And the nurse came in, and an aide came in, and a therapist came in. And he said to him in a nice way, "I would like you all to leave. I want to die with just my son in the room." And that's what he did. But I thought, how beautiful. Because Carl was, it's not putting Carl down. Carl was a brusque man. You know, he was in control.